welcome to Module 2. I'm looking at the screen again, the module screen. Module 2, Business Organizations and Agency Relationships and Employment Law. Always a fun one, because we're not always aware of employment law and how it affects us as employees as well as employers. So we're just looking down the module setup right here. Run the open exercise again, get your head in the game, answer a few questions, get you thinking, well, I know this area pretty well, or I don't. Like, oh, I didn't ever knew this stuff before, so I need to kind of dig in a little deeper. Interactive lecture again to help you visualize the lecture. There's some lectures there, some more reading, additional reading towards with the text as well. Critical thinking, discussion, forum. We'll roll back to that one here in a minute. Critical thinking, and of course the mastery exercise, which is graded, so then you have unlimited chances to go in there and keep taking it over and over again. Critical thinking, we'll touch on that one here in a second as well. The discussion forum, I know you're a little long-winded on these, but make sure you understand them. So, okay, your consulting service has been requested by the CEO of a large international corporation. The CEO is concerned about ethical issues surrounding corporate governance and from a global perspective. A common example maybe would be where a corporation board of directors breach one or more duties, such as duty of loyalty or care of its shareholders. So, okay, think about this. Second line, I give you some guidance there. Enron, WorldCom, Martha Stewart, just to name a few other breaches of duty that happened in the world in the past over 25 years since Enron, if I remember correctly. Let your bill was shooting up all of a sudden. So kind of look into this. So we want to conduct research. You're a consultant for the CEO. So you conduct research, analyze similar industries, look up other cases. There's a couple at the top of my head I can't think of at the moment. Look at the ethical issues surrounding the corporate governance of a global position. Did the CEO betray the board of directors? The board of directors betray the CEO, or were they working in cahoots? Were they working together? What were the facts of the case? Look at the legal issues, decisions of the court. What was the issue? First off, Enron, they were cooking the books. They were making up fake companies. They were making all this alleged money, but they really weren't making the money. But it was only on paper. But when they got caught, they went to Arthur Anderson, I think it was, and they started shredding all the evidence. So there was kind of a double-edged sword there. They kind of messed up themselves. Those are the facts. They know that about that. What was the legal issue? What was the legal outcome of Enron? If everybody runs Enron and SOX, Sarbanes-Oxley of 2002 Act, that's what was the outcome of that. So think about that when you look at this. Of course, if you've got questions on that, please do ask. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I'm more than happy to open to any questions. I'm moving back to the main screen and we'll go into the critical thinking. And it's opening. Okay, there we go. So you have two choices in all your critical thinking. First one, ethical issues and employment law. Not going to read all this. I'm just going to jump down to the bullets. Identify and clearly define the relevant law you're talking about. So you're talking about an OSHA issue. OSHA is a government agency. What laws over there did company X violate? They didn't have ventilation for welders. So the place is full of smoke and all welders getting sick. Stuff like that. Either define a legal doctrine that pertains to that. Provisions of the law, elements of specific actions. What law pertains to the case study you found? In this case, your director asks you as an HR employee to research employment law and draft a memo and discuss that specific issue. You don't have to make this a memo. It's going to be essay format. Like it consists across the board because you get too many different papers, different views, and it gets a little confusing sometimes. So therefore, your memo specific case supports employment law to utilize your own experience. This experience can be professional or personal. In business world, as employee, as employer. Lastly, your director would like you to include any ethical issues in your company may be confronting a reference to employee law. Keep in mind, everything's based on ethical issues that affect the law. The law affects the ethical issues, so they kind of play hand in hand. So keep that in mind each time you write a paper. This is an ethical issue here. With Enron, they frauded everybody. They made up fake companies. Stakeholders were making money, or happy, and all of a sudden they found out, wow, all these companies really don't exist. They're just on paper. They're just theory. They were just moving numbers around and cooking their books, and they look like, wow, they're just generating money like nobody's business. So think about that. So of course, the ethical issue, they broke a law, and they created a new law. Last year, okay, so consider employment law with wages and hours, OSHA, disabilities, minors. Well, you do your research on that. You'll find plenty of stuff on employment law, wages and hours, OSHA, age discrimination, disabilities, minor. Ton of stuff out there. I recommend using the government websites for those. So Department of Labor, EEOC, specifically OSHA, Civil Rights Act, 1964, Title 7. And building your essay, like I talked a little bit earlier, I got to hit on myself. Talk about the relevant law. What law are you talking about? Compare and contrast that applicable law to the employment issue you identified. So if you're identifying age discrimination, you had a lady or a gentleman that felt that they were fully qualified for the job. They heard through the grapevine they didn't hire them because they were over 40 years old. Then to identify that law, you compare and contrast to the scenario. You could be on a Facebook. You found on Facebook. The HR department. So, well, they didn't hire those people because they were too old. They were over 40. Stuff like that, and it happens. It's out there. It's rare, but it's out there. Apply the facts in the situation to your applicable law, doctrine, or cause of action studied. Again, how does obviously the age discrimination law, ADA, Age Discrimination Act applies to anybody over 40, that includes myself. So kind of compare and contrast that. Again, try to keep the bias aside, put the facts in there, what you have in the case study, and what's in the law. Try to meld the two together, compare and contrast, put it together. Clearly summarize lessons learned from the week as you apply your fact pattern and make links to the reading in the module. Again, go back in the book. I don't have it handy right now, and pull out of the book. It's part might sound contradictory, not contradictory, but consistent with what you find in Department of Labor or EEOC or government websites or other case sites. Pull all these resources out. I want you to look at different resources. Just don't focus on the book. The book said this. Okay, fine. But we have other reading references as well back in the interactive side and getting out into the library, looking around, and looking at government websites. And here we come with include new thoughts, ideas based on information, reflection, insight. I said, get away with bias, but this is where you're making a professional opinion. Try to keep the emotions in balance. Try, emotion and the bias and how we are. Well, I think they had a right not to hire him because he was too old. He's going to retire soon or whatever. But no, I'm trying to find a balance. Kind of come in the middle of the argument. Kind of try to be neutral and give an opinion. Was it right for somebody on Facebook and HR from a company say, well, we didn't hire Mr. and Mr. X because they were too old. Well, was that right for somebody in HR to go online and do that? Well, these basically got themselves fired. They just took an executive decision made by the board, said, no, we're not going to hire somebody. And either they knew for a fact that the hiring manager said, no, that person's too old, or they just made some biased opinion. So they put the company in a bad place, in a very bad light as far as reputation and how they treat people. So kind of think about stuff like that. And finally, identify and briefly discuss any related ethical issues. Is it ethical for me as the HR manager to go online on Facebook? We didn't like Mr. and Mr. X. We didn't hire them. They were just too old. Or whatever the words are. Just kind of give it a generalization. But look at the ethical side of it. If it's a safety issue, does the employee have a responsibility to keep their employees safe per OSHA? Disability issue, was the employee have the company, disability accessible in it? And if not, why not? And there's programs out there that will pay for a certain amount of money to help a company get the right facilities for somebody who's disabled. What goes up? Mine is working. Now, I started working when I was 13, but that was jobs here and there. For my mom's friends, go take out the trash, pick up stuff. And I always worked. I always had that. But was it right for even yourself? Did you work at a young age, under 18? Think about that stuff. Was it right? Were you paid correctly, or did the employer use you? Stuff like that. So it's kind of the ethical issues, like how you're ethical, you're kind of balancing, kind of in that gray area. I hired Ken at 16. I pay him $3 an hour. Federal law says you pay minimum wage is $7.85. I think it is now, something like that, and it's changing. He can get away with it because I'm not legal age, and I'm 16-year-old. What do I know about law? I'm happy just to work, have some money, do my own thing. So think about that on a side, ethical side. Excuse me. Final word on the papers. Should be no more than 3 to 4 pages long. Please don't get long-winded. Don't take me wrong. I love reading the papers, but 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pages is getting a little long-winded. Try it, edit, proofread your papers before you submit them. Make sure it makes sense. Have somebody else proofread it. Have them read it back to you. Does that sound right? I don't know. Who said that? Oh my God, what was I thinking? Here's what you read in your head. It sounds really good. It goes on paper and it smells read. It's like, ooh, okay. I got to revisit that one. APA, not everybody's favorite, but that's the standard we use at CSUG. So get familiar with it. I'll grade you on it. A lot of it's minor stuff. Usually in-text references people get mixed up. But stick to that. Don't change it. I know it's boring. People want to be more creative, but that's what I'm used to seeing for the past 9 years I've been here. So don't change it. Don't try and get fancy fonts in there. If you want to put pictures to help support what you're talking about, fine. Tables, graphs, perfect. Don't put pictures on the front page. Just leave it blank, boring. That's what we like. Because I read a lot of papers. I have 2 classes, probably about 40 to 50 students total. So that's a lot of papers to read. And if you get too creative and it kind of gets distracting, then it gets all that. So I get my soapbox on that one. The second one is employee discrimination and bona fide occupation qualifications. This is a really interesting topic, and you're going to find, I think there's one case study out there about a woman who wanted to be a correctional officer in a male jail, but she wasn't the right height or stuff like this. Another one is a woman working in an industry that they wanted to keep her away from some batteries because she was pregnant, because the fumes from batteries could hurt her, and stuff like that. Hooters, a guy wanted to be a Hooters girl or guy, whatever you want to call it. There's a case study for that. Airline flight attendant, way back in the day before males were flight attendants. There's case studies like that. Fun case studies. Have fun with this. Again, I'll just go through this real quick. Research the internet. Find a case study out there. I just kind of gave you a few hints of ones I've read over the past 9 years. Compare and contrast the applicable law, BFOQ. Again, that's over in Department of Labor. You'll find the details on BFOQ, bona fide occupation qualification. That's a mouthful. So BFOQ is easy to say. Identify and clearly define the relevant law utilized by the court in determining the outcome of the case. That includes identifying applicable law doctrine, provisions of the law, the elements of specific cause of action. Think about that. Legal doctrine, what says that, I think it was American Airlines, or last, I forget, cannot hire males because they do not fit the profile of a stewardess at the time. Or the woman that wanted to be the correctional officer, she was a short woman, she was, I think, 5'4" in the case, or 5'3", and had a height requirement. Well, does that stop her from doing the job? Is there a law saying they can't hire her because she's too short? or the person's a male, or person's a female. Think about that stuff when you look at the document. The provisions of the law. What exactly does the law say? Civil Rights Act of 1964, Title VII is going to be your one there, right there. It's going to tell you about not discriminating against anybody's sexual orientation, race, gender, sex, and a few others I don't remember at the moment. But you'll find it. Look it up. It's one you don't really know. What else? The elements of a specific case of action. Pick out what is in that case. Don't get too involved in the whole case. What's specifically in that case? Okay, we said employee, the applicant, she's too short. She's a female. This is a male. Jail. We know that she's qualified. Hooters, we only hire females, look like X, and hiring a male does not fit the profile. So, is there a law saying that they can't hire her or him? In either case, think about that. Apply the facts research in a situation, applicable law, doctrine. Again, compare and contrast. Again, down at the bottom there, find and analyze Title VII of Civil Rights Act 1964 and determine if you should apply to every company regardless of number of employees. I think the standard right now is about 15 employees or less. BFOQ doesn't really matter. And 15 or more, it does matter. It does apply. And analyze Title VII BFOQ requirements, determine race and color should be permissible BFOQ, whether the BFOQ expectations to employment discrimination to be removed completely. That's a gray area. And one of the good examples of that is the movie industry. If you're going to make a movie about Asians, are you going to hire a bunch of Caucasians, African Americans to play the part, or are you going to go for strictly Asians to play the part? Now, I mean, is that a BFOQ? Does that qualify for it? Does that reason? I mean, look at movies nowadays. Everybody that's in a movie plays the part that fits either a real life situation. For example, American slavery. Obviously, they use a lot of African Americans actors as the slaves, and obviously on the other side, they use Caucasians for the slave owners. So, is that a proper balance? In my opinion, yes, it is, because it wouldn't look right if you're trying to put a Caucasian into an African American role, and it doesn't give any compliments or authenticity to the art or the movie or what they're trying to get across. So we kind of look at that too. Another one is the Catholic Church. Not going to go too far into that, but what qualifies to be a priest? In their minds, it's just males, no females. But again, think about it. It's a good exercise in looking at reality and how discrimination can be perceived in the workplace and what laws are there to protect each and every one of us against being discriminated. Again, if you have any questions on anything particular in this assignment, please drop me a line. I'm here for you.